Hello beings, welcome to the experience. My name is Flamino, and today I'm going to show you what it was like for me to spend 24 hours inside a dream. But I'm going to kindly ask you to support my work. Leave a like here because it's going to be a really cool video, and comment Pucarontas, okay? This was a very last minute video because I made the decision to record this video inside the dream. I never thought about making a video related to this, about spending 24 hours inside a dream, and I made that decision right there while lucid dreaming. And since you guys really like it and always ask me for videos related to lucid dreams, what do you always ask me to do? Shifting, which I've been putting off a lot, I admit. You guys give me lots of tips on things to do inside dreams, since I'm a lucid dreamer, very aware. And just a reminder, I have a video here on the channel that teaches you how to control your dreams in 30 days. I'll leave it here in the card if you want and have the patience. It's practically a course. This video will teach you from scratch. If you don't even remember your dreams, you'll start to remember them and then you'll gradually increase your control. Just follow what's in the video. It's a free course I made for people who are interested in being able to dream and control their dreams. And I really recommend it because, man, it's amazing. Both for entertainment, so you can dream about whatever you want, about things you can't have. In the waking state, also for dreams, you can use it for yourself for self-knowledge. But alright, so I'm going to explain my dream to you here in quite a detailed way and explain what technique I use to improve my lucidity and everything else. And let's go to the beautiful world of dreams. Well, at the very beginning of the dream, there were several flashes of images of totally random things. I don't remember them very well, but where did I start remembering? So, with more lucidity, with more memory of this dream, with more details, it was at the moment when I was walking on Avenida Paulista with my friend Samuel. I always dream about people from my circle of friends, and that's very common, and the dream was actually pretty normal too. I'm always with Samuel there on Paulista Avenue, but there was one detail that already seemed strange to me. There were really big airplanes flying between the buildings on Paulista Avenue, like really low at the height of the buildings. And I looked at it and started thinking, wow, that's strange, the planes are really low, isn't that dangerous? Right after I made that comment, Samuel was rude to me and said, oh, that's nonsense. It's not a dream or anything, come on. And I hadn't mentioned anything about a dream to him for him to get mad like that. There was no reason for him to get mad. Samuel is a super peaceful guy. And then I started thinking, wow, but I didn't say anything about a dream to him. Okay, but what if it is a dream? That crossed my mind, and then I went to look at my hand, which is one of the reality checks I do the most. And as usual, my hand was all messed up. I didn't have all my fingers. It looked really weird. Okay, that confirmed to me that it was a dream. I said, wow, I'm in a dream. I got that little bit of lucidity, and I'll explain why. A little bit, I still wasn't fully lucid. And then right there where I was, I started spinning around. When we spin our body, we improve both our vision inside the dream and the amount of time we can stay in it. I teach this in the course I made here, along with several other techniques. Each person adapts better to a certain type of technique. And him, right after I finished spinning, I looked at Samuel and he had a very serious look on his face toward me. He looked like that, even a bit intimidating, so I left quickly. I looked back and everyone on Paulista Avenue was there, me olhando com aquela cara de... You can't dream. It's like I was doing something wrong, like being lucid in the dream was something forbidden in that place. So I started running, and right after that I climbed up a building. Just like we walk on the ground, instead of flying, I walked up the side of the building, I realized I wasn't fully lucid, or I would have flown or teleported to the top of the building. I just wanted to be alone in a quiet place, undisturbed. So I could do more lucidity exercises to improve my vision and my lucidity, because I knew I wasn't fully lucid. So I went to do the exercises to achieve full lucidity in the dream, but up until then, I didn't have any goal of staying in the dream for 24 hours or anything like that. I just wanted to escape from everyone who seemed ready to kill me. And, alright, I climbed up and then I thought, okay, now I'm going to meditate here to see if I can improve my lucidity and everything. I was still kind of lucid, but not completely. And it's something you can feel when you're 100% lucid in a dream. The lucid dreamers here will know what I'm talking about. You have the feeling that you can change anything. You feel like the god of the dream. You feel powerful and nothing can affect you. It's like a world created by you. When you have that feeling, it's a tactile sensation, it's hard to explain, and I wasn't like that, so I went there to meditate and I couldn't do it. I couldn't change anything. I would close my eyes a little, when you keep your eyes half closed, looking down and trying to concentrate, but I couldn't. And then I started thinking about Guilherme Romano. Guilherme Romano, for those who don't know, is a yogi. He even appeared in one of my videos. Ele é o que eu tenho mais from a master. And then I was there, super focused on asking Guilherme for help to gain lucidity. And then Guilherme appeared in front of me and touched his finger to my forehead. He had a very happy expression. He was kind of smiling, you know, like, I'm here to help you, while he had his finger touching my forehead. I remembered a moment when I was with him at his institute, when he had his finger on my forehead reciting a mantra. And right after that, I was extremely lucid. Guilherme himself is extremely lucid. I remembered everything I had done during my day. While I was awake, I remembered all the details. There, I had that kind of control. I knew I had control over the whole situation. If I wanted to make another sun appear there, I could do it. If I wanted to duplicate my body, I could do it. But Guilherme had disappeared. Then, I thanked him mentally for the lucidity and said, okay, what am I going to do here now with all this lucidity? And then what crossed my mind? Create content, right? When you really love your work, you want to do it everywhere. And then, since I was feeling totally in control there, I thought, okay, I'm going to try to spend 24 hours awake inside this dream, right? Because I was sleeping but awake in the dream. You get it, right? And then I had the idea to fly to the tallest building in the city, right? And I looked down, and the city wasn't Avenida Paulista anymore. The city was super high-tech, the buildings looked like they were made of metal, and there were a lot of lights, kind of LED, kind of neon. At times it looked like cities in Japan, you know, really high-tech. So I went, got to the building there, sat on top of the building to appreciate that image my subconscious was giving me. It's really cool. And then I said, alright then, but let's get straight to the plan. I need to know what time it is so I can spend 24 hours here and then, before I look at my wrist, right? I was already looking at my wrist with the goal of, okay, when I look there will be a watch, right? Then, when I looked, there was a watch, but it wasn't exactly a wristwatch. It was one of those pocket watches that guys in the Middle Ages would open like this to check the time. But it was coming out of my skin and the feeling was really weird. It was like it was actually stopping my wrist from moving. I mean, it was big. And then, okay, I don't even remember checking the time. I just looked at the watch as if I had actually checked the time, but I do that even when I'm awake. Don't say you've never done this. You check your phone for the time, put it away, but don't actually notice what time it is. Please tell me you've done that before. It's normal, right? So, okay, what was it? My plan there was to not have any kind of extreme situation, because any kind of extreme situation in our dreams usually wakes us up, though there are exceptions. We wake up, so I didn't want to fly back down, because flying is already kind of an extreme situation, right? So I didn't want to fly back down. I wanted to return in the most ordinary way possible, so I could stay in the dream longer. So I said, alright, I'll just go down by elevator like normal, and man, inside the building it was really high tech, the elevator was really high tech. It was really cool to know that all of that was created by my mind, without me even thinking about it. And on the way down, while I was in the elevator, it stopped on some floor, I don't even know where. And a red-haired woman, kind of like a country girl, got in. She was extremely beautiful. And she started walking toward me like that. And she started pressing up against me, as if the elevator was narrow or crowded with people. She started pressing up against me, as if she really had to do that, and probably that was just my own instinct, my mind wanting to create a situation like that. And in the dream, that's how it is, right guys? The beautiful woman touched you, and if you want to go for it, you just say it. And that messed up my dream. I think the desire I felt for her started to mess up my whole mind. Then I don't really remember what happened. Did I have that kind of contact with her? The kind you're thinking of? I had several flashes, I even wrote them down here. I don't even remember all the flashes, but no, they were from several different situations. Exactly in that same dream, memories, it messed up my mind completely. Here, I was driving an old car, and I just couldn't shift gears at all. The things that went through my mind, me serving food in a hospital. Whoa, there's one here that's really heavy. Horror. Look at this, man. I don't remember all these flashes that are written here and there. My mind started to glitch out with all these flashes. And I stopped at one of those memories. Where I was diving with that diving gear, in a really beautiful sea with lots of coral, many colorful fish, and that sunlight coming in, making those beams of light underwater, really beautiful. And I was still conscious, and I wanted to understand what happened, why I left the elevator. Wow, and all these flashes, all these things were just running through my mind. And that was an extreme situation. Then I started to lose lucidity. It started to get dark. I started to feel my body on the bed because it was very gradual. I started to realize that I was gonna wake up. I said to myself, man, I can't wake up. So if I do wake up, I'll try to come back here again. And I woke up without opening my eyes. I thought I'll focus on my breathing and return to that dream by picturing that scenario again. And that's exactly what happened. I managed to get back into the dream. I also explain in the course what happens. I say course, but it's just a video here on YouTube. It's possible for you to get back into the dream you just had, and it's not even that hard. Especially if you woke up in the middle of the night, it's much easier to remember the dream when you just woke up. And if you have that really strong in your mind, fresh, you can fall back asleep and return there if you pause. A lot of the time, if you have a flexible schedule and don't have to wake up to an alarm clock, you can fall back asleep several times after waking up, even if it's already morning. And then what happened? I woke up at that crystal clear lake, but I wasn't inside it anymore, nor wearing a diving suit. I was outside, sitting like this, in front of the river. The place was very beautiful and it seemed super realistic. But I knew I was dreaming, although I didn't have that feeling of hyper-lucidity, but I knew it was a continuation of a dream where I was trying to spend 24 hours there. So alright, what did I do next? I looked at my wrist to see how many hours had passed and the watch was gone. That's when I realized my lucidity started to decrease, because all I had to do was make the watch appear. But no, I was already kind of out of it. In dreams, when you're not fully lucid, you just accept that reality even though you know you're dreaming. Even knowing you can change things, sometimes things just show up and you just accept them as they are. And then I kept walking and found some hallways with extremely tall glass walls like that, and I just kept going into those hallways. And the funny thing is, I told some people about this dream from memory, and I wrote the whole dream down here from memory. And I didn't remember this part about waking up in a crystal clear river. I remembered it as a direct jump from that peasant woman. In the elevator to this part with the glass walls continuing, I kept walking, I kept going down this hallway with glass walls, and it turned into a maze. So what could I notice about this maze? I could see where the end of it was, really far away, really far away. But because it was all glass walls, I could see through them. I could see the hallways that were next to me, but I couldn't walk over and reach those hallways. So, it didn't matter that the walls were made of glass. And in my mind, I wasn't thinking like that. Wow, I need more lucidity, because to me, I thought I was lucid, so there wasn't much to save. Right there. I was just trying to reach the end of this maze, knowing that I needed to spend 24 hours inside the dream. But I was already starting to get worried, because I spent a lot of time just walking around there. And then, after a long time walking and not being able to get closer to the final place, I sat on the floor and said, look, you know what? Am I going to spend 24 hours sitting here? As if I were rubbing it in the dream's face that I'm going to achieve my goal anyway. Right after I thought that, an apple appeared in front of me. So I said, whoa, I think the dream knows what I'm trying to do here and it's giving me something to wake me up. That's what went through my mind. It made sense to me. So I went up to the apple, I picked it up, and in my hand, it looked like a glass apple filled with red liquid. That texture of the apple that we're used to seeing, it was like the red liquid form, that texture. It was really weird, but it was very beautiful and everything. I didn't want to bite the apple because I thought if I did, I'd wake up. So I picked it up, looked at it, and decided not to bite it to avoid waking up. Right after that, a hole suddenly appeared in the ground. Not opening up, but as if I hadn't noticed it before, and then it was just there. It's an escape from this maze. Funny enough, that didn't even cross my mind. If I fall into this hole, I'll wake up. I even got close to that hole. It was very deep. It was like a slide to a place so deep you couldn't see the bottom. It was all black, all shadow. And I thought, okay, this is my only way out. I have to go. I even hung from the edge of the hole like this to drop into that slide and create less impact when I hit the bottom. And then I let myself drop into that hole, and I started to feel a really strong sinking feeling in my stomach, just like when you dream you're falling and you wake up. But that feeling in my stomach wouldn't stop. And I started to lose consciousness and realized I was losing consciousness, and I said, no, I'm going to focus here and I'm not going to wake up. And I kept making a huge effort to stay awake there, and I got to the end of that slide and said, wow, I managed not to wake up with that sinking feeling in my stomach. Wow, I'm really awesome, man. Then I left where the slide was and said, man, I want to see what I left behind, you know? How do I get back to this place? Because I want to see what this place was and how I could get to the exit. And then I decided to fly. I don't know why I didn't decide to do that before. But I started flying toward the place I'd been before. And it was a gigantic maze, no longer with glass walls, but stone ones. And then I flew over it until I could see from above that gigantic stone maze. And there was no end. I could see the horizon like this, and I couldn't see the end of that maze. It was an impressive sight. I was shocked by that sight in the dream, thinking, my god, I would never get through this. In my mind, it was the same maze, but before it was made of glass, and now I was looking at it made of stone, but in my head, it was the same maze. Dream stuff. Well, here in my notes it says, you couldn't even see the end. By the way, it was already late afternoon, and I went into the maze again. Mental mess, the end, that's what's written here.
Por que isso tá anotado assim? Vou explicar.
Right after I woke up, after that mental mess, which actually must have made sense, I went to write down my dream. But there were 2 dreams to write down. There were a lot of details that aren't here that I'm not telling you because I'm only saying what I remember. When we wake up, we start to forget the dream really fast, so you have to write it down as quickly as possible. And while I was writing down my dream, I ended up forgetting the end of my second dream. That's why it says mental mess there. But my last memory was being inside this gigantic stone labyrinth. And it was late afternoon, around sunset, which means I made it to another sunset. So I spent almost 24 hours inside a dream. Because when I started, the first dream was still during the day. Then it got dark, and when I went back to the dream, it was daytime again, and then it turned into late afternoon. So, it was a lot. I spent a long time inside that dream. I don't know if it was exactly 24 hours because there's no way to measure it, but it was a long time. Sometimes it even felt like more. And time in the dream goes by differently than it does here, in reality. Sometimes in a 20-minute nap you dream for 4 hours, you dream about a lot of things in 20 minutes, or in 10 minutes you dream about a lot of things. So, space and time work very differently there. Well, that's it. This video was a bit easier to replicate for you all because in my other dream videos I tried recording dramatizations to show you what I'd seen in the dream. Now I have help from AI tools which generated all these images that I showed here to you. I spent quite a bit of time to be able to use Midjourney to create these scenarios, these objects that you saw there. And man, it's amazing. Some of them turned out really close to the city. The city I showed was actually very similar to the one I was seeing there. The text I wrote was basically meant to make the image of this city look as close as possible to what I saw in my dream. The others aren't that identical. The apple also turned out really similar. Actually, this makes for a good experience, doesn't it? After 30 days studying artificial intelligence, where did I end up? Did I create a robot? Well, overall, this experience was pretty cool. Even with the somewhat terrifying dream, the maze part was kind of annoying and I spent a lot of time there. But overall, it was good. Well, that's it for the video. If you like this kind of video related to lucid dreaming, leave a like here to support my work. And if you have any ideas related to dreams or dream control for me to try out here as an experiment, leave them in the comments and see you in the next experiment. Guilherme, what a scare, man. Look at my hand there. Oh, wow.
I'm here at Guilherme's Institute, making him record the part of my dream, being a pain. Class is over, I said. Could you do that little part, please? He's creating the...
His pants over there now, the little outfit. What is that?